The WWF, what the world is watching. Turn it on and rip the knob off.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Wrestling Memory Grenade, now at episode 135. And this week we dive into the month of July in 1988 and the World Wrestling Federation, talking all about the July news and looking at all the results here as we continue on into the summer of 1988. And of course, as always, I am your host, Ray Russell. But before we get into things this week, I just want to take a moment to thank everyone out there, all of the listeners, all of the supporters, all the patrons, whether you've been here for a week or 4 years, guys. Can you believe it? This week, right here on the Grenade, marks the 4-year anniversary of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network and, of course, the Wrestling Memory Grenade. And before we get going into the show, I just want to say once again a special thank you, because the first half dozen or so shows of the Grenade were actually on a site called the Retro Network, for those who don't know. I want to send another special thanks out to Mickey Yarber, who gave us the platform to post the first few shows while we were getting the WrestleCopia network up and running. And I also want to thank Mickey's partner in crime at the time. He has since passed away, Jason Gross. Just want to thank them again for allowing us to be part of their site, if only for a couple months, as we got the ball rolling here on WrestleCopia.com. Now, with that said, it is happy anniversary to WrestleCopia. Happy anniversary to the Wrestling Memory Grenade, guys. We've been through a lot here, but with a little luck and a lot of support, we're still here 4 years later, up and running. And this week, we jump back into it, July 1988 in the World Wrestling Federation. And right now, we kick it all off with the July news. And right out of the gate, a doozy. Mean Gene Okerlund. We got a little debacle here with Mean Gene. It seems... Now, for those who haven't noticed, we lost Mean Gene in the event center. That went to Sean Mooney, obviously. But also, Mean Gene has been missing in action as far as update, special report. Pretty much no Mean Gene Okerlund on any form of TV right now. And that's very good reason. Apparently, there's been a falling out recently between Vince McMahon and Mean Gene. Now, the last time this happened was at one of the Slammy Awards. Gene got into it with Vince, and Okerlund up and quit the company. Now, it only lasted a day or so before Gene realized, well, this is my platform. This is where I'm going to make my money, and he comes back. Well, I guess they had another falling out here over the summer. The rumors I had heard in the past were that Gene was starting to believe his own hype, not necessarily focusing on his daily duties and more so just enjoying life and kind of putting himself over, which we come to know that that's a thing that Gene would do. But I guess it was getting to be a little too much here in 88 for Vince McMahon. He called Gene out on it, and eventually Okerlund, I don't know that he got sent home or that he went home on his own. As you guys may have noticed, he's been missing in action here over the last month or so, and that'll continue on just briefly here. In fact, at some point, we're actually going to hear Howard Finkel replace Gene in the opening of the WWF intro. We'll actually hear the Fink's voice saying the WWF, what the world is watching. And for anybody who had a question as to what that was about, well, this is it. Now, spoiler alert, guys, Mean Gene will be back before too long. But obviously, with the likes of Sean Mooney and others still around, Gene going to be able to focus on the bigger picture here in regards to doing the Saturday night's main event interviews, the pay-per-view reports, things of that nature. So Mean Gene will be back. Don't you guys worry. And as Mean Gene takes some time off, we've got some newcomers headed in on the house shows here in the month of July. Now, we've already seen the debut of the Powers of Pain on the house shows, not TV yet. But of course, we did see the debut on TV of the likes of the Rockers and the Big Boss Man. But you can add now here in the month of July, Terry Taylor, Owen Hart, and Curt Hennig. Wow, what a trio of names acquired by the World Wrestling Federation, all debuting here for the company in the month of July. And with Curt Hennig leaving the AWA, he drops the world title there for Vern to Jerry the King Lawler, right there in the Mid-South Coliseum. And in return, we get a little tainted Vern, if you will, here. Vern Gagne on AWA television actually made the comment that it's a good thing that Curt Hennig lost the title to Lawler because there's no way he would have made it through AWA newcomer Rocky Mountain Thunder. And for those who don't know who that is, Google it, look it up, go on YouTube, check it out, see what you think. Vern really overstepping his bounds there in regards to comments. Rocky Mountain Thunder didn't even belong on television. Vern Gagne putting him over as the next AWA champion had Curt Hennig stuck around. Credibility, Vern, you're losing it here in the late 1980s. But you know what the WWF is gaining? Ratings, cable ratings to be exact, for the second quarter covering April, May, and June of 1988. Primetime Wrestling was the number 4, count them guys, number 4 rated show on cable TV, drawing a 3.0 rating at the time, which would be 1.3 million homes. Meanwhile, All American, the Sunday morning program, in at number 9 on cable TV. Unbelievable. 2.8 rating for All American, 1.2 million homes. And you ready to have your mind blown? Jim Crockett's program, the 605 program on Saturday nights, World Championship Wrestling, number 11. World Championship Wrestling falls behind All American. Unbelievable. The nationally famous 605 show falls to 18th place in the cable rankings. But wow, think about that. Primetime Wrestling drawing a solid 3.0 for 1988 for the quarter, and in 4th place. People love them some Gorilla and Bobby. Now, I will say this, Jim Crockett's Miami Mayhem Clash of the Champions was the 4th highest rated single show during the quarter on cable, trailing only behind the NBA playoffs on TBS. So Turner doing pretty damn well. Don't you worry about him. He'll be okay financially. As we continue on, one guy that may not be okay, he's okay financially, but maybe not necessarily in the box office. However, the Hulk Hogan movie, which we will come to know as No Holds Barred, scheduled to be released next year, May 1989, or you could call it just after WrestleMania 5. Meltzer speculates, could it be that Hulk Hogan will win the world title just before the movie's release? Well, that could be possible, Meltz, but I don't know that it's going to help at the box office. As we continue on, also, July going to mark the deaths, sadly, of several well-known professional wrestling talents, and it all starts on July 4th, Independence Day here in the States, but it's in Canada, where Adrian Adonis will pass away. The WWF fans will know Adrian Adonis, but alongside him, riding in a van, actually, headed from town to town, were Adrian Adonis, the Kelly twins, Pat and Mike Kelly, and the Bear Man, Dave McKigney. Now, of the 4 men in the van, 3 of them pass away, Adonis, Kelly, and the Bear Man. Mike Kelly, the twin brother of Pat, the only surviving member of that car crash. Unfortunate, to say the least. And then, of course, as many may know, later on in the month of July 17th to be exact, we will see the murder of one Bruiser Brody down in Puerto Rico, courtesy of Jose Gonzalez, a.k.a. Invader number 1. We hope to cover the Bruiser Brody situation in detail on an upcoming episode of Regional Wrestling. But until then, guys, we'll stick here to the World Wrestling Federation 1988 and SummerSlam rumors here in the news department. Meltzer says the word is that at SummerSlam, Miss Elizabeth will show up wearing only a robe, and at a key point during the matchup will drop the robe and be in nothing but a string bikini. Not gonna let that happen, Actually, a string bikini in high heels, very exact, is Dave Meltzer here. He says this will in turn distract either Andre or Jesse Ventura and lead to the babyface win. Distract Andre or Ventura. Why not Dibiase? Well, we haven't really gotten into the matches signed for SummerSlam, so I won't go too deep into that, but interesting how we're back here in July and the rumors are already starting of Elizabeth possibly rocking a bikini. And Meltzer points out we're going to hear about it on TV because they're actually planting this story. The WWF hoping the idea of Elizabeth in a string bikini will be able to sell the pay-per-view because Meltzer feels that it's a dud on paper from top to bottom. And Meltzer also quips, Elizabeth in a bikini selling a pay-per-view? It probably will, believe it or not. Interesting. Also, remember, Brother Love in town now here in the WWF. The Brother Love show going to be part of the big pay-per-view upcoming SummerSlam in the month of August. And Brother Love has promised a very special guest. At this point, in the Observer, Meltzer claiming it will not be a wrestler. So quit the speculations. Now, rumors will continue. It could have been the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, Flair had some issues at the time in the NWA, and those were rumors at that point in time that Flair could have made the jump, and they were kind of building towards that possibly here. Now, who's to say? I don't know. But the one thing I do know is it will be a wrestler, guys. That much I can promise you. But here in July of 88, Meltzer says, not so much. Now, those were just rumors for SummerSlam. Here is not a rumor. Madison Square Garden going to be sold out for the big pay-per-view. And for the first time in several years, they're going to be opening up the old Felt Forum for closed circuit TV right next to the Garden there. And that too will be sold out. So obviously SummerSlam going to be a mega hit there in New York City. Can't wait to get there here on the Grenade. And that's going to wrap it up. Pretty shortcomings this week in regards to news, but some fun tidbits in between. And of course, some somber news as well. Losing several professional wrestling stars here in July of 88. But right now, guys, it's time to jump into the July results portion of the program. But before we can get there, we got to do this.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey everybody, Gene Jackson here, inviting you to check out the Retro Wrestling Review, where each week I'm joined by some great co-hosts who help me review classic episodes of USWA Championship Wrestling, and right now we are doing week-by-week reviews of 1993. But we don't just do reviews, sometimes we get a chance to interview some of the people who were there and lived it, plus do watch-alongs. It's a lot of fun, so check out new episodes that drop every Wednesday at WrestleCopia.com, and to find links to everything associated to the podcast, you can go to USWApodcast.com.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here, curator of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, inviting you guys to listen to many of the programs here as part of the WrestleCopia brand, including, but not limited to, the Wrestling Memory Grenade, currently covering the 1988 and the WWF project. You can also listen to the Regional Wrestling Podcast, where we talk the territories, whether it's Jamie Ward with Georgia 81, Roman Gomez with the UWF in 1986, or Gene Jackson covering Memphis in 85. 3 projects going on right now over there at Regional Wrestling. You can also listen to the Wrestling Stoop with the legend himself, Bob Roop. Bob goes back in time each and every week, covering not just his career, but countless stories and interactions with hundreds of wrestling names spanning his 2 decades in the business. But that's not all. You can also check out the Puro Wrestling Academy with the professor of Puro Resu, Mr. Dan Ginnity. Dan and I go back in time and cover the history of Japanese professional wrestling in the English language. And you can listen to all of those shows and more, all part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, located over at WrestleCopia.com. That's WrestleCopia.com, and anywhere your podcast streaming needs are met, from Apple to Spotify, Pocket Cast, and beyond. And while you're at it, why not subscribe to our social media guys for all the latest goings on here at the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Plus, I'm constantly adding old school video clips and pictures from throughout wrestling history. You can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter, at Wrestling Grenade. That's at RASSLIN Grenade. Also, follow and like me, Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. And why not subscribe to YouTube.com/Wrestling Grenade. And of course, now would be a fantastic time to become a WrestleCopia patron. I'm talking about that $5 all access tier over at Patreon.com/WrestleCopia. That address again, Patreon.com/WrestleCopia, where you get so many gifts for just $5, including all of my insanely detailed show notes for every episode of The Grenade Show, Regional Wrestling, and the Monday Warfare podcast. You'll also get early access to a lot of the podcasts here on the WrestleCopia brand, where you can listen days and sometimes as much as a week earlier than the rest of the listeners. We also offer remastered versions of the earliest episodes of The Grenade Show, covering the 1989 NWA project. Includes enhanced sound quality, plus new content and conversation never heard before. But that's still not all, guys. You also get at least a dozen digital downloads for your viewing and reading pleasure each and every month, plus random bonus video drops, and of course, the Patreon exclusive Watch Along series, covering many past WWF and WCW events. And if that's not all, Videocasts, also now a part of Patreon. And for those who like all of their podcasts in one nice, neat little pile, the WrestleCopia Patreon also offers a Patreon exclusive Spotify account. You can actually go over to your Spotify, with your WrestleCopia Patreon credentials, instead of listening or downloading directly from Patreon, you can go over to Spotify, listen to all the latest shows, including all of the early releases. And you get all of that and so much more for just $5. No subscription, cancel anytime. Give it a try for a month, guys. I think you'll like the content that I offer, and every penny of it goes right back here into paying the bills. So if you're looking to support that next up-and-coming podcast brand, please consider making it WrestleCopia. Help me pay some of the bills to keep the WrestleCopia Podcast Network and all of the great shows here up and running for the months and the years to come.
P is for power and punch. T is for titans and turnbuckles. W is for wild and winning. PTW is prime time wrestling. Tomorrow at 9, 8 Central on USA.
All right, guys, welcome back to the program. Jumping into July results for 1988 in the World Wrestling Federation. Now, don't forget to head over to the historyofwwe.com. Great site kept up by Graham Coughlin and, of course, Richard Land. You can click on that 1988 result link over there on the history of WWE. Scroll along with me as we look at some of the results for July of 88 in the WWF, and it all starts with some A shows. July 1st through 3rd, 3 nights in a row, invading Canada. Calgary, Alberta at the Saddle Dome, going to draw 12,500 July the 1st. July 2nd, Vancouver, British Columbia, Peony Coliseum. And July 3rd, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan at Saskatchewan Place, drawing 8,300. And the card looks like this every night. Jump and Jim Brunzell going solo over Steve Lombardi with a big drop kick. Greg Valentine defeating Coco Beware on a DQ after interference from Don Muraco, believe it or not. Bad News Brown battling the Hitman Bret Hart to a 20-minute time limit draw. Had to kill the Hitman not to go over in his hometown of Calgary, but Bad News wasn't going to do that job either. Also, IC champion Honky Tonk Man pitting Brutus Beefcake after using a foreign object. It's the British Bulldogs over the, we'll call them the New Islanders, Haku and High Chief Afi. Dynamite pinning Afi every night. Now, this also marks the end of High Chief Afi here in the WWF, so the New Islanders didn't last too long, did they? Just one appearance on television, and High Chief Afi is indeed gone here by early July. Also on the card, Don Muraco battling Jim Neidhart to a double countout, Outlaw Ron Bass pinning the Junkyard Dog, and in the main event, it is World Wrestling Federation champion Macho Man Randy Savage over the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Some A shows there to kick off the month of July. Then we move on to a trifecta of B shows, we'll call it. Niagara Falls, New York at the Convention Center, Halifax, Nova Scotia at the Forum, and Hull, Quebec at Robert Gaerten Arena, July 1st through the 3rd. It's Frenchie Martin over Sam Houston, One-Man Gang defeating Richard Charland. Charland subbing for the now gone Bam Bam Bigelow, who had a rough go of it with Andre the Giant on June 25th in Madison Square Garden. Bigelow finishing up that night, quitting the company, and instead here we get Richard Charland on the card, the gang going over there also. Hillbilly Jim pinning Barry Horowitz, the Ultimate Warrior over Dino Bravo on a disqualification, Big Boss Man downing Leaping Lanny Poffo. It's Andre the Giant pinning Hacksaw Jim Duggan with ropes for leverage, and the WWF Tag Team Champions Demolition defeating the fabulous Rougeaus brothers. Smash hitting a clothesline behind the referee's back. Raymond had axe in the reverse rolling cradle. Smash going to clothesline him right out of it. Demolition going to pick up the win and retain the titles, and then from there into the main event. Ravishing Rick Rude pinning Jake the Snake Roberts using the ropes for leverage, taking a page out of Andre's playbook earlier here. Also in Halifax, double DQ between Rude and the Snake Man. As we go on to the C shows for July 1st through the 3rd, Manchester, New Hampshire at the JFK Coliseum, Lewiston, Maine at the Central Maine Youth Center, and Warwick, Rhode Island at the Musical Theater. Going to draw 620 fans there in Warwick, and I don't have results, but I do have the card, and here we go. It's we saw Brunzell on the A shows, so it's B. Brian Blair here on the C shows, taking on Iron Mike Sharp. Young Stallions versus Conquistadors. Kim Patera going at it with Hercules. George the Animal Steel versus Dangerous Danny Davis. Also on the C cards, Powers of Pain, subbing for the now defunct Strike Force. It's the Powers of Pain versus the Bolsheviks here. Whoa. Yeah, that'll draw you 620 fans. And as we close up the beginning of the month of July, of course, July the 4th, 5th, and 6th, it would appear that the superstars get a little time off. I don't have any results, so good for Vince McMahon giving these guys a couple days off around the holiday. But we pick things back up, and it gets really interesting after the 4th of July, guys, because for most of the rest of this month, we don't just have 3 nightly shows, but rather 4 shows on the tour right now. 4 nightly shows here for the majority of the rest of the month of July. Unbelievable. So we're going to have A, B, C, and D shows. And I know you guys are asking, what do the D shows look like, Ray? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Now, I want to be clear. We've got 4 different troops of talent out there on 4 different levels, and they're pretty much going to be married to one another from July 7th through the 17th. Going to see very similar shows outside of a couple TV tapings. And it all starts, we're going to work backwards. We're going to start with the D shows and work our way up to the cream of the crop, the A shows, guys. So let's see what was going on July 7th through the 17th in the likes of Perth Amboy, New Jersey at the high school, Emmitsburg, Maryland at the Knott Arena, Buchanan, West Virginia at the Rockefeller Gym, South Charleston, West Virginia, Frankfort, Kentucky, Jasper, Indiana at the high school gym, Bloomington, Indiana, Lawrenceburg, Indiana, also at the high school gym, Marion, Indiana, Decatur, Illinois, and Muskegon, Michigan at the Walker Arena. And this is a D show for you guys here. If you were attending any of these events, it's Leaping Lanny Poffo over various preliminary talent, including Sandy Beach going to work some of these matches. Also, Special Delivery Jones or Jerry Allen, depending on the night, defeating King Haku. We have a new king here in the WWF. So SD Jones or Jerry Allen beating King Haku on a DQ. And you guys may be scratching your head. A, why are these guys going over on Haku at all? But B, why are they going over on Haku right after he's crowned king? Good question. The reason being, this was originally supposed to see Bam Bam Bigelow take on King Haku, but with Bam Bam gone from the company, they had to fill it in, and the rule of thumb was typically whenever you had a replacement, the babyface had to go over. So best way they could work it, SD Jones, Jerry Allen defeating Haku on DQs each and every night there, one or the other. Also, George the Animal Steele defeating Danny Davis on a countout. Young Stallions over at Barry Horowitz and George Scotland. All right. And the main event on the D show, Junkyard Dog pinning the Outlaw Ron Bass. Except for in Perth Amboy, where Bass goes over, but it's JYD most nights, and it's rumored that there was one other match, preliminary match on the card. How does it get any lower? I truly don't know, but this, guys, is what a D show looks like, and I would love to know some of the attendance figures for some of these nights. Wow. And we're going to move up a notch now to the C shows, guys. July 7th through the 17th, they look like this. Going to look at some of the cities and attendance figures here. Eureka, California, the Redwood Acres Fairgrounds going to draw 1,886, a sellout at the fairgrounds, less than 2,000 fans there. We move on to Redding, California Convention Center, drawing 2,500, another sellout. Doing okay on these C shows so far. Chico, California, that's a place. Silver Dollar Fairgrounds, and yet another sellout of 1,200 fans. Then from there, Santa Rosa, Grace Pavilion, Modesto at the Center Plaza also sells out, 1,700 fans. Fremont, California at the College Gym. And then from there, Monterey, California, July 13th as well. And we're going to stop there and pick it back up with some more results in just a moment with the C shows. But those nights, it looked like this. The debuting Blue Angel, which is Owen Hart, pre-Blue Blazer, original name Blue Angel, pinning Terry Gibbs. Ladies champion Sherry over Rock and Robin. The fabulous Rougeaus defeating the Killer Bees. Coco Beware over the one-man gang on a DQ. And now in Eureka and Redding, it was the Ultimate Warrior over the mighty Hercules. But during that match in Redding, on July the 8th, Hercules sustaining an arm injury, and he's going to be out for a few days. So for the remainder of the tour, it's the Ultimate Warrior over Iron Mike Sharp. So Warrior and Hercules basically headlining the cards here. But it's going to change a little after the 13th due to Hercules' injury as we go on to the 14th through the 17th. Going to see the 14th in Los Baños, California at the Fairgrounds Outdoor Arena. Also, Tulare, California. Hope I pronounced that right. Veterans Memorial Building sell out of 1,400. From there, it's Santa Paula, California High School Gym, only 648 on July 16th. And finally, on the 17th, Palm Desert, California, College of Desert Rite Gymnasium. Alrighty. And the cards look like this here. It's Iron Mike Sharp over Terry Gibbs. Mike Sharp now subbing for the already injured Blue Angel. Owen Hart sustaining an injury July 14th in Los Baños, California. So the Blue Angel is out for the remainder of this mini tour here. So the card going to look like this for the remainder of the shows, the last few shows here heading into the 17th. Iron Mike Sharp subbing for the Blue Angel, defeating Terry Gibbs. The Fabulous Rougeaus over the Killer Bees. Coco Beware downing the one-man gang by DQ. It's still Sherry over Rockin' Robin. And now in the main event, Warrior has been bumped off to another tour. So instead, the main event's Ken Patera over the Mighty Hercules. Welcome back, Herc. So the C shows, slightly better than the D shows, but let's see where we are with the B shows, shall we? We're going to move up another notch up to the B shows now, the secondary shows, the secondary towns for the World Wrestling Federation from July 7th through the 12th before the TV tapings. It's going to be Portland, Oregon at the Memorial Coliseum, Eugene, Oregon at the University of Oregon MacArthur Court, Sacramento, California, Arco Arena, Las Vegas at the Thomas and Mack Center, 4,000 fans there in Vegas, San Francisco at the Cow Palace, 7,500 paid, and then Madison, Wisconsin at the Dane County Coliseum. And the card looks like this. It's the headbanger Jos LeDuc over Jerry Allen or Scott Casey, depending on the night. And various nights on this tour, it's either Terry Taylor over Jerry Allen or Mike Sharp. There's even a couple losses here, Terry Taylor losing to Tito Santana via the flying forearm on this tour. From there, it's Dino Bravo over Ken Patera with his feet on the ropes. Powers of Pain over the tag team champion Demolition in a non-title match. Now, I will say this, San Francisco Cow Palace going to change it up there for the tag team champions. It's actually going to be Demolition teaming with Mr. Fuji, still on the losing side, against Powers of Pain and Tito Santana. What an interesting six-man that would have been. Also on these cards, Brutus Beefcake over IC champion Honky Tonk Man on a DQ. Jimmy Hart interfering each and every night, except in San Francisco, Honky Tonk Man scoring the straight pin there over the Barber. Also on these cards, Bad News Brown downing Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and it's Andre the Giant pinning Hacksaw Jim Duggan on the B shows, which are pretty fun shows. You think about it, Demolition, Powers of Pain, Beefcake and Honky Tonk Man, and Andre and Duggan. A trifecta of what you would call main events. So you can't complain. So let's see what happens at the A shows, shall we, from July 7th through the 12th, including Toledo, Ohio at the Sports Arena, drawing 3,500. Wow, that's it for an A show. Also, Richfield Coliseum, July the 8th. July 11th, Des Moines, Iowa at the Veterans Memorial Auditorium. Davenport, Iowa, Palmer Auditorium, July the 12th. And the cards look like this. Iron Sheik back in the World Wrestling Federation. Yahala the mother the fuck. The Iron Sheik defeating Scott Casey. Big Boss Man over Sam Houston. The Rockers defeating the Conquistadors. It's the British Bulldogs over the Bolsheviks by countout. Also, Rock Don Muraco defeating Greg Valentine by disqualification. Jake Roberts over Rick Rude by DQ. And some nights also double countouts between Jake and Rude. And in the main event, thank God, Randy Savage pinning Ted DiBiase, because up until that point, my God, DQ, 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 count out. What are we doing here on the A shows? But Randy Savage getting that definitive pin against Ted DiBiase, but their feud will continue on throughout the summer, guys. I promise you that. As we get our first piece of real business here at the Boston Garden, July the 9th, in front of just 5,000 fans. Now, going to be televised on the New England Sports Network, including Sean Mooney this time around. Sean Mooney going to be doing some commentary alongside Lord Alfred Hayes and superstar Billy Graham. What a trifecta that would make. What a trio. And with that comes our very first bit of sound bites here. And when I say bit, I mean quite a bit. Tons of promos upcoming here. Lots of matches on the card. We're going to hear from everyone involved in the upcoming matches, including the British Bulldogs, Slick and his Bolsheviks, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Rock Don Muraco, Jake the Snake Roberts, and Ravishing Rick Rude. We're also going to hear from challenger Ted DiBiase and, of course, the Macho Man, Randy Savage. I will see you guys on the other side.
We are back at the WWF Event Center. So much happening in the World Wrestling Federation. It will be happening here Saturday night, July 9th at the Boston Garden. Tag team competition. The Bolsheviks, shall we say they are masters of bending the rules. They will be facing the British Bulldogs. We've got both sides standing by with comments about this match, starting out with Slick, the Doctor of Style for the Bolsheviks.
You know, this is not usually the accessories that I wear with this particular suit. But I decided to wear red today, you understand, because I want to pay homage to that great tag team, the Bolsheviks. And I want to tell you something, British Bullfrog. I can't believe that you had the audacity to come on national television talking about you've got an added advantage because you're a former tag team champion. Well, don't forget Nikolai Volkov is a former one-half champion, and when it's all over, they'll be champions again.
Slicks, to take a long look at this face, because you're going to be seeing it a lot at ringside when the British Bulldogs step in the ring with your so-called number one tag team, the Bolsheviks. Let me tell you something, Bolsheviks, we might be smaller, but we're a lot faster, and we can do a lot more better moves than you. So when we step in that ring with you, Bolsheviks, it's all going to be over within 20 minutes. Isn't that right, Dynamite?
That's right. Boris, Nikolai, you won't know if you're coming out going in that ring. When we finish with you, we're going to beat you in the middle, 1, 2, 3, and just embarrass you.
The British Bulldogs, Davey Boy Smith, Dynamite Kid, Matilda will also accompany them, but there is more. How about this personal grudge match? They met before. It was a brawl then. It will be this time. Ravishing Rick Rude, he'll meet Jake the Snake Roberts.
What happened? It get a little bit too hot for you? One trip down the aisle, man? One little taste? Huh? Every man likes to have his fun, Rick Rude, and you might have had some at ringside, but you're not having any with me. No fun at all, I know that. And what are you going to do, Rude? You going to run? You can't hide from me, brother. You see, your mind is light years away from where mine's been all my life. Mine turns at a different speed, makes me do different things. And the plain and pure fact is this. I'm going to take you out any way I can.
The man from Stone Mountain, Georgia. Perhaps he will return the favor to Rude by having Damien attempt a Roberts awakening. Who knows? This will happen Saturday night, July 9th at the Boston Garden. Hello, everyone. I'm Sean Mooney here at the WWF Event Center. And I'll be standing by throughout the hour to not only fill you in as to just what's happening in the World Wrestling Federation, but to also tell everyone in the Boston area about a great evening coming to the Boston Garden Saturday night, July 9th. World Wrestling Federation action returns in a big way. What a night it is going to be. We've got on the card Sam Houston. He will be here. And also in tag team competition, the Rockers. They will also be here. Tag team competition, the British Bulldogs. They will face the Bolsheviks. The Rock, Don Muraco, to take on Greg the Hammer Valentine. In a return bout, Jake the Snake Roberts, he will square off against Ravishing Rick Rude. But the big one will be for the World Wrestling Federation Championship. The Macho Man, Randy Savage, defends his title against the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase.
As I predicted, Randy Macho Man Savage, the pressure, the strain, and the stress of being the World Wrestling Federation Heavyweight Champion and having to continually climb back in the ring with the $1 Million Man has begun to show on you. That's right, Randy Savage. How macho are you now? You know you don't want to climb back in there with me. But a man of my wealth can afford to be patient. But I've been patient long enough because you have managed somehow to sneak out on some technicality and still walk away from that ring with the belt. But not this time, Randy Savage. You have tasted the wealth of the $1 Million Man. Shoved down your throat. I've beaten you from pillar to post. This time, Randy Savage, your account is overdrawn and I'm here to collect.
He is the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, of course, with his bodyguard, Virgil. We've got a match that has taken on new significance. Don the Rock Muraco, he will face Greg the Hammer Valentine.
You know, Muraco, he's got the superstar, he's got the music, he's got it all, baby. But you got the mouth with you, man.
That's right, the greatest manager of all time. 1988 is going to be a banner year for Greg the Hammer Valentine. You remember the old school game in high school, rock, scissors, and paper. Well, this is no game. This is a rock versus a hammer. Two former Intercontinental champions, and the best one is right here. And you're going to feel the hammer come crashing down.
Boston Garden World Wrestling Federation action returns Saturday, July 9th. We are back at the WWF Event Center. I'm sure many of you are aware of a very explosive situation that has been magnified. It exists between The Rock, Don Muraco, and Greg the Hammer Valentine. It will be interesting to see if Greg the Hammer Valentine is allowed to wear that shin guard he has been sporting on his shin, wreaking havoc all over the World Wrestling Federation. Well, he has enraged The Rock, Don Muraco. We have both standing by right now with comments.
Muraco, the Hammer's on the road to the goal, baby, and don't get in our way.
The Rock. They call you The Rock. They call you a man of courage. A man of steel, and then you jumped me from behind, stuck your nose in the Hammer's business, chased off Jimmy Hart, the mouth of the South, the greatest manager in the World Wrestling Federation today. And now, Rock, now I'm going to have my chance to smash the Rock with a hammer, and you're going to feel the figure 4 leg lock and the heartbreaker. Greg Valentine, you're right about one thing. You're about just one thing. That no man is an island. Yeah, no man is an island, see. But I am the Rock, and you cost me something very, very dear to me. A friend, you see. Because you don't have many of those, Greg Valentine. You don't have many of those at all. And the superstar, Billy Graham, is one man who has been to the top, who deserves respect. Not a sneaky dog like you, sliming up and back of him. Greg Valentine, time is all over.
He is a fired-up Rock. Don Muraco, anxious to meet Greg the Hammer Valentine. We've got some great tag team competition. It will feature the Bolsheviks. They will be taking on the British Bulldogs, Davey Boy Smith, and Dynamite Kid. They're standing by with Matilda.
Slicks to take a long look at this face, because you're going to be seeing it a lot at ringside when the British Bulldogs step in the ring with your so-called number one tag team, the Bolsheviks. Let me tell you something, Bolsheviks, we might be smaller, but we're a lot faster, and we can do a lot more better moves than you. So when we step in that ring with you Bolsheviks, it's all going to be over within 20 minutes. Isn't that right, Dynamite?
That's right. Boris, Nikolai, you won't know if you're coming out going in that ring. When we finish with you, we're going to beat you in the middle, 1, 2, 3, and just embarrass you.
The British Bulldogs, hoping that this match with the Bolsheviks will be just a tune-up. They're looking for a title match against Demolition. That is just part of the action at the Boston Garden. We are back at the WWF Event Center, and you've got a great evening coming your way July 9th at the Boston Garden. So many great matches. One will feature Jake the Snake Roberts and Ravishing Rick Rude.
Jake Roberts, you're lower than a snake, man. You're a worm. You got a problem with me, Roberts. Why don't you meet me face to face? You jumped me from behind. You jumped me before the bell rings. But it didn't matter, Roberts. I took over. I had you down. I had you in a heap of flesh in the middle of the mat. My mistake was I had mercy on you. I turned to walk away. I gave you the opportunity to jump me once more. Next time, there's no jumping, Roberts.
Ravishing Rick Rude. We've got a title match taking place that evening. The $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, will face the champion, the Macho Man, Randy Savage.
You talk about the stress. The champion is under, yeah. But I got something you ain't got, yeah. I got a lot of heart, yeah. You got a lot of dirty money, yeah. I've tasted your dirty money, and I spit it out. I spit it out, and I'm spitting on you. And I'm gonna get you, man, yeah. First Lady of Wrestling, Elizabeth, will never be touched again. And you will never touch the World Wrestling Federation Championship belt. Those are promises, yeah. Just like your bodyguard is ugly. I'm gonna be all over you like melting butter, yeah. The eyes of the madness, yeah, are gonna be all over from wall to wall. Elizabeth leading me down that aisle, and the stress and the strain, and this big heart right here is gonna be right on you. And I'm gonna take you out. I'm gonna teach you a lesson. I'm gonna do it Macho Man style, yeah.
The Macho Man, Randy Savage, and yes, indeed, he is number one in the WWF. Well, once again, we are back at the WWF Event Center. We've got a big title defense taking place here at the Boston Garden Saturday night, July 9th. The Macho Man, Randy Savage, will defend his title against his challenger, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. He's standing by with Virgil.
I will not be denied, Randy Savage. I will not be denied. I always get what I want. You remember that. Drill that into your head, Savage, because it's the truth. I always get what I want, and I want the World Wrestling Federation heavyweight title more than anything else that my money can possibly buy. I've knocked on the door a couple times. I've been robbed a couple times. But I will not be robbed this time, Savage. You're wearing the belt that you know belongs to me. There'll be no guardian angel to pull you out this time. You belong to me, Savage, and that belt belongs to me, too.
He is the $1 Million Man. He has met the Macho Man before. He has moved back into contention. He's got a title shot. What about this one? Ravishing Rick Rude. He will take on Jake the Snake Roberts.
Do you even think for a moment that that little bit I got the last time we met was enough to satisfy me, Rick Rude? Oh, no, man. I'm a hungry man, you see. I want more from you. I want you to give me everything you've got. Maybe that's what you went for last time. You went back to the dressing room to get something else. Maybe you needed some help. Well, brothers, you see what we're doing here is you're out there fighting for your life. Me, I'm fighting for something that means much more. My right to walk down the street and hold my head up high. My right to walk in my home and look at my wife and say, baby, I can take care of business. I've always taken care of her, and she's always been happy. I'm the one that's unhappy, and I won't get happy till I get you.
We are once again back at the WWF Event Center, and the news is great matches coming your way. One that is going to be some match. It will feature Jake the Snake Roberts and Ravishing Rick Rude. We heard from the Snake. Now let's hear from Rude.
Jake Roberts, you're lower than a snake, man. You're a worm. You got a problem with me, Roberts. Why don't you meet me face to face? You jumped me from behind. You jumped me before the bell rings. But it didn't matter, Roberts. I took over. I had you down. I had you in a heap of flesh in the middle of the mat. My mistake was I had mercy on you. I turned to walk away. I gave you the opportunity to jump me once more. Next time, there's no jumping, Roberts.
Here's Ravishing Rick Rude. Hey, we've got a big title defense. The Macho Man Randy Savage to face the $1 Million Man. We have the champion standing by.
You talk about the stress. The champion is under, yeah. But I got something you ain't got, yeah. I got a lot of heart, yeah. You got a lot of dirty money, yeah. I've tasted your dirty money, and I spit it out. I spit it out, and I'm spitting on you. And I'm gonna get you, man, yeah. First Lady of Wrestling Elizabeth will never be touched again. And you will never touch the World Wrestling Federation Championship belt. Those are promises, yeah. Just like your bodyguard is ugly. I'm gonna be all over you like melting butter, yeah. The eyes of the madness, yeah, are gonna be all over from wall to wall. Elizabeth lead me down that aisle, and the stress and the strain, and this big heart right here is gonna be right on you. And I'm gonna take you out. I'm gonna teach you a lesson. I'm gonna do it Macho Man style, yeah.
He is the man at the center of it all, the Macho Man Randy Savage, the undisputed champion. Of course, he'll be accompanied by his manager, the lovely Elizabeth. You can see all this Saturday night, July 9th, on a great card coming your way. Sean Mooney, and I'll be stationed right here throughout the hour at the WWF Event Center, bringing you all the news about what's happening here in the World Wrestling Federation. I'm also going to be telling everyone in the Boston area about a big night coming to the Boston Garden Saturday night, July 9th, and what a night it is going to be. We've got a big title defense for the World Wrestling Federation Championship. The Macho Man, Randy Savage, he will defend his title against the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. And the two have met here before, but the $1 Million Man has moved back into contention. He has another title shot. The Rock, Don Muraco, to meet Greg the Hammer Valentine. The British Bulldogs to take on the Bolsheviks. Sam Houston to meet the Big Boss Man. Tag team competition, the Rockers, they will take on the Conquistadors. And we've got another big return bout. It will feature Ravishing Rick Rude and Jake the Snake Roberts. Nobody knows just how far this grudge will go. We have Ravishing Rick Rude standing by right now.
Jake, if taking care of me means happiness for you, you're never going to be happy, brother, because you ain't got what it takes to take care of Ravishing Rick Rude. And if you want to walk down the street with your head held high, you don't want to step in the ring with me. Because if I put the Rude Awakening on you, brother, you're going to need a neck brace to hold your head up at all. Now, Jake Roberts, the fact is, your old lady wants me, and it's eating you up inside. But don't add insult to injury, man. Admit I'm better. Admit you can't deal with me. Because this time, I'm going to make you admit it, and I'm going to make all the people admit it, too.
Here's Ravishing Rick Rude. I mentioned a big title defense. The $1 Million Man will face the champion. He is the Macho Man, Randy Savage, and he's standing by with Elizabeth.
First Lady of Wrestling, inspiration of inspirations, is more important than you, our multi-million-dollar man, Ted DiBiase. In fact, the whole world is more important than you. But you're a legend in your own mind, yeah. But I'm talking right now, and you better be listening, and your ugly bodyguard, too, better be listening. Macho Madness is coming to town, yeah. And the eyes of Macho Madness are on you now. I ain't letting you out, and I'm keeping the belt. Do you understand, man?
All right, talk about a bivvy, a slew of sound bites there. Hope you guys enjoyed. A lot of people love the sound bites. Hope you guys enjoyed some of that. But the time for talking is done. It's time to jump into the action. Let's look at the results here at the Boston Garden for July the 9th. Going to see the Iron Sheik make his return over Cowboy Scott Casey with a gut-wrench suplex. Also on the card, British Bulldogs over the Bolsheviks by countout. Big Boss Man defeating Sam Houston. Then from there, it's Greg the Hammer Valentine pinning Rock Don Muraco after blasting him with Jimmy Hart's megaphone. More action, going to see Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty, the Rockers defeat the Conquistadors. Then it's a double main event, if you will, when WWF champion Macho Man Randy Savage with the lovely Miss Elizabeth by his side defeats the $1 Million Man with bodyguard Virgil on a disqualification after Virgil's interference. It appeared the Macho Man had Dibiase beat, had him pinned center of the ring when Virgil going to jump in to prevent that from happening. And then post-match double team beatdown by Dibiase and Virgil on the Macho Man until the referee's able to clear things up there. Now, I should point out for anybody going back and watching this event, this Boston Garden show, we haven't gotten to the July TV yet, so a little bit of a spoiler here. You may be wondering why the Macho Man wearing a neck brace for the majority of the bout here. Well, it was to sell an attack that aired that week on TV on Superstars by Dibiase and Andre the Giant. We have that to look forward to in the upcoming TV episodes on the Grenade here. But a fun little spot late in the matchup. Dibiase going to rip the neck brace off of Savage and actually throw it in the face of the lovely Miss Liz. Unbelievable. Talk about taking some risks there, Dibiase, while you're in the ring with the Macho Man. And the final match of the night, we're not done yet, guys. Also on the card, Jake the Snake Roberts sending the fans home happy, scoring a win, a pinfall win on a schoolboy, but he gets the win over ravishing Rick Rude here. No doubt that feud will continue on as we roll on to East Rutherford, New Jersey in the Meadowlands, July the 10th. Iron Sheik over Scott Casey. Bulldogs defeat the Bolsheviks on a count out again. It's Ted DiBiase pinning Rock Don Muraco after a distraction by Greg Valentine on the floor. And speaking of the Hammer, it's Greg Valentine over Special Delivery Jones. Big Boss Man once again defeating Sam Houston. Then a 18-man battle royal being held here at the Meadowlands. Winner to get a shot immediately thereafter against the WWF champion Randy Savage. And the winner of this 18-man battle royal, wouldn't you know it, the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase actually comes down to DiBiase and the Bolsheviks. Bolsheviks eliminating Jake the Snake Roberts. And the final three, it's the Russians and the $1 Million Man and DiBiase, of course, paying the Bolsheviks off to eliminate themselves. So DiBiase scoring the win, if you will, and he will meet the Macho Man later on in the main event. But also on the card, it's Rick Rude over Jake Roberts. Not a great night for the Snake Man. Rude using the ropes for leverage, pinning Jake the Snake there. Also Rockers over the Conquistadors. And then off to the main event, where it is the WWF champion Randy Savage defeating Ted DiBiase on a DQ. Virgil interference once more there as we roll off to our first set of TV tapings in July the 13th, La Crosse, Wisconsin at the La Crosse Center. Only 6,500 fans, and that will be a sellout here for these Superstars tapings. Some of the dark matches going to see Powers of Pain over Tag Team Champion Demolition, non-title match. Also in the dark matches, some of the upper tier house show matches here. Jake Roberts versus Rick Rude, Andre versus Hacksaw, Honky Tonk and Beefcake get it on, and of course Randy Savage and Ted DiBiase. Now we don't have results for those, but good to see the TV tapings are getting all the big matches as well. Now what we will see from these TV tapings, of course, not only the upcoming episodes of Superstars, but several matches taped for other pieces of TV, including Primetime Wrestling, set to air July 25th, the Iron Sheik's return with, once again, manager Slick. Wow, Sheiky Baby over John Yates with the Camel Clutch. Mother the fuck. Also, Primetime Wrestling, August 1st, 3 matches, including Hart Foundation over Rick Renslow and Dave Wagner, the Hearts back united. Conquistadors scoring a win over Sam Houston and Terry Taylor. Taylor making his WWF televised debut here, but it's Houston getting pinned, and Taylor none too happy about it. Terry Taylor immediately turning on Sam Houston after the matchup. I guess you could say Houston humiliated Terry in his WWF debut. And the future Red Rooster, not happy with that, beats down poor Samuel and tosses him out of the ring. So instantly turned heel is Terry Taylor here upon his television debut. And also upcoming August the 1st, WWF Primetime, another Ken Patera squash over Tom Stone with the full Nelson O'Doom. So take that, Tom Stone. For those who don't remember, Tom Stone, not the guy that put Patera out. It wasn't Stone's fault, but it was Stone that Patera was wrestling when he tore his arm last summer. As we continue on, we looked at the Superstars tapings. Now we move a day forward. Cedar Rapids, Iowa, 5 Seasons Center, July the 14th for some Wrestling Challenge tapings. Now dark match is going to see Bulldogs versus Demolition, Jake the Snake versus Rick Rude, Honky Tonk taking on the Barber, Andre and Duggan, as well as Savage versus DiBiase. No results for the dark matches, guys, but again, a loaded card for the TV tapings, including several matches taped to be aired, all on the July 25th edition of Primetime Wrestling. 4 matches, to be exact, including Greg the Hammer Valentine over Ken Patera by DQ after interference from the Rock Don Muraco. Also, Hart Foundation scoring a win over the Conquistadors with the Heart Attack. Then from there, Tito Santana pinning the headbanger, Jos LeDuc. LeDuc managed by Frenchie Martin in this matchup. Tito scoring the win with the flying forearm. I'd say the writing's on the wall already for Mr. LeDuc. And then from there, Dino Bravo scoring a win over Sam Houston with his patented side suplex, Jess. All of those matches going to air here later in the month of July on Primetime Wrestling. Looking forward to seeing the headbanger in one of only, I believe, 2 matches that ever made air. As we continue on July the 15th, Houston, Texas at the Summit, drawing 7,500 fans. Another A show here. Jos LeDuc over Sam Houston. Dino Bravo defeating Bret the Hitman Hart. It's the Bulldogs over the Bolsheviks on a countout. Greg Valentine downing Don Muraco. Powers of Pain over Tag Champ Demolition by countout. IC Champion Honky Tonk Man pinning Brutus the Barber Beefcake. And the WWF World Champion Randy Savage over the $1 Million Man. So all 3 titles on the line there in Houston. Gonna draw 7,500. I guess that's okay. Up next, going to look at a trifecta of shows with similar results. July 15th, 16th, and 17th out west, including Los Angeles, California at the Sports Arena. 15,000 fans. That's going to be aired on the Z Channel, the WWF's first house show here from Los Angeles on the Z Channel. Got to look at that in just a moment, but also July 16th, this card, San Diego, California, Sports Arena, and July 17th, another sellout, 8,500 fans, Denver, Colorado, at the Auditorium. Iron Sheik defeating Terry Taylor with the Camel Clutch. Terry Taylor doing the job to Sheiky Baby here. Unbelievable. You bring one guy back, you bring the other guy in, making his debut this month, and he's already doing jobs. And unfortunately, this match doesn't air on the Z Channel because I would have loved to have seen it. Now, however, the remainder of the card will air on the Los Angeles Market Television on Z Channel, including Gorilla Monsoon, Sean Mooney, and Superstar Graham on commentary, as we see the Big Boss Man over Scott Casey with the Boss Man Slam, Rockers over the Conquistadors, and Jesse Ventura even going to make a random appearance during that matchup. Hey, you're in my town, Hollywood. Well, actually LA Jesse, but I'll give it to you. Jesse Ventura popping up for just a little commentary here during the Rockers matchup. Now, I should also mention, go and check this one out if you guys can. I'm not sure if this one's on the network or the Peacock or what have you. But the Rockers actually come out here, and they don't have their Rocker theme music. Instead, they have to use the Ultimate Warriors music for their entrance here. I'm not sure if somebody got confused or if they simply didn't have the Rockers music, and this was the next closest thing, if you will. But it's just kind of odd to watch Sean and Marty come out to the Ultimate Warriors theme here in L.A. But also on the card, Andre the Giant scoring a pinfall win over Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Big boot to the face, and then puts his feet on the ropes to steal the win. But post-match, Duggan a little revenge, clocking the Giant with the 2x4. As we continue on, it's the Ultimate Warrior over Bobby Heenan in a Weasel Suit match. Now we've done the rounds. It's been on TV repeatedly at this point, depending on your market. Then from there, it's Bad News Brown over Jim Neidhart every night with the Ghetto Blaster. As we set up the main event here in LA and the other towns, we're going to see Jake the Snake Roberts take on Ravishing Rick Rude. But first, we're going to hear from both sides.
Okay, we've got an inside look into some upcoming matches right here on Z Channel. We are back here in the interview area with Jake the Snake Roberts. And Jake, let's talk about this upcoming match with Ravishing Rick Rude.
Well, you know, it's real easy for somebody to sit at home or sit on the sidelines and watch it here on Z Channel and not be a part of what's really happening in the ring. But I'm the man that's stepping in there and putting everything down. Rick Rude is stepping in there and putting everything down. But you know something? I've always wanted to be in the middle of it. But I never thought it'd happen like this. I mean, it was personal, it was cold, and it was a mistake you should have never made, Rick Rude. I mean, after all, every man in life has to make decisions, right or wrong. He's going to do it. That's part of growing up. That's part of living. And that's all right. But you got to also learn that when you make a decision, there comes a time that you have to pay for that decision. Your time has come, Rick Rude.
Okay, let's talk about this personal grudge match with Rick Rude. Now, this surrounds a situation with your wife, Cheryl, and his attempted rude awakening.
He was embarrassed. She's my woman. She's a lot like me. She stands on her own 2 feet. He was lucky there was a barricade there, because she would have kicked him.
Well, Rick Rude has an entirely different outlook on this situation. He feels that your wife, Cheryl, was attracted to him.
That's pretty stupid for you to stand there and say to me, because you don't want me in your face, and Rick Rude don't want me in his face. And the people sitting at home on Z Channel, you go ahead and sit there and watch, but you can't be a part of it. I'm the one that's got to do the work.
Okay, well, we've got the inside track on this upcoming match with Jake the Snake Roberts and Ravishing Rick Rude. It's going to be a hot one. Okay, we are back in the interview area with Ravishing Rick Rude. And Rick, let's talk about this matchup you have tonight with Jake the Snake Roberts. This has gone beyond just competition.
First of all, let's talk about the reason you don't have my music playing, little man. I like to have my music playing at all times.
Well, I'm sure once you enter the arena, you'll hear it loud and clear.
Yeah, you make it right.
But let's talk about this matchup. Now, this has gone beyond just competition. There is something more to this match with Jake Roberts.
Exactly. The fact of the matter is this. Jake Roberts is a man obsessed with Ravishing Rick Rude. See, the man's woman wants me in the worst way, and he knows it, and he knows that there isn't anything he can do about it.
Well, Jake Roberts, I think, would disagree with you. He feels that his wife wants nothing to do with you.
Well, I'm sure he would say that. I mean, you wouldn't admit that your old lady wants a piece of me either, but she does. The fact of the matter is, Jake's woman wants me, and the whole country knows it. And it's plain to see why. Because I'm Ravishing Rick Rude, and Jake Roberts is the snake.
Okay, well, you'll have your opportunity to meet him right here tonight. Do you have a special message to give Jake Roberts? He's watching out there.
Jake Roberts, believe me, you're in for a rude awakening. And after I make quick work of Jake Roberts, I'm going to do downtown L.A. the ravishing way.
Okay, you heard it from Ravishing Rick Rude. You will meet Jake the Snake Roberts right here. And right now, let's go back to ringside. We've got more action coming your way. Stay tuned.
All right, there you hear it. Snake Man can't wait to get his hands on Ravishing Rick Rude out here on the West Coast and the western half of the United States. But Rick Rude doesn't sound too concerned. He's ready for the Snake Man. As we go to the ring, we see it is Rick Rude over Jake the Snake Roberts, albeit on a countout. Match goes about 18 minutes. Before the two men fighting on the floor, Roberts makes the mistake of tossing Rude back in before himself, and it's Rude who beats the count thanks to the help of Jake Roberts. Jake Roberts losing this matchup on a countout. Now, I will say this, post-match, Rude going to celebrate, taunt the Snake Man, get in the ring and do his hip gyration, but what Rude doesn't see is Damien coming out of the bag, Jake Roberts wrapping Damien all around the Ravishing One before Rude hightailing it to the locker room. And then post-match, a bummed-out Roberts going to be interviewed ringside by Gorilla Monsoon.
Really upset here at ringside. I'm going to try to get a few words with Jake the Snake. Jake, I know you're extremely upset. There was a miscarriage of justice that went down here. Unfortunately, the referee just couldn't handle that. One of the greatest matches I've ever seen. You tried to uphold the honor of your family and all the things that went down previous to this match. You made a great showing for yourself, and I know you're extremely disappointed at this time, but you have nothing to be sorry about.
Disappointed? I'm sick of it, man.
I'm sure you are.
WWF, every time I walk in the airport, somebody's telling me something, hey, what about your wife? What about this? Well, I get sick and tired of hearing it, man, because it hurts. It's more than just a game when you're talking about family, and you understand that better than anybody else.
Absolutely.
So I'm telling you, Rick Rude, is this. It's very simple. It takes a lot to satisfy this man right here. That woman can do it, and you can do it if I get my hands on you and pop the DDT. It's the only way I'm going to be happy.
Well, a couple of times early on in the match, you had an opportunity. Obviously, he spent a lot of time, Jake, on working on counters for the DDT because at one point he was extremely successful in countering your best move.
The guy's a great athlete, man. I'm not taking it away from him from that. All I'm saying is that when a man grows up, he has to make decisions in life. Am I right?
Absolutely.
If he makes them right or wrong, that's his business. But what happens in life is that you have to follow those decisions up with paying the price, the consequences.
Well, I'm sure, Jake, that in a match of this nature, with all that was involved here and all that went down, I'm sure there's a return clause in the contract, and you, I'm sure, will be more than willing to put your name down once again.
Rick Rude, anybody else, I'm a very easy man to find.
Thank you very much, Jake. Grab a shower. Tremendous match. Great effort by a great wrestler.
All right, Gorilla having some words there with the Snake Man. Jake Roberts is none too happy with the decision here tonight. He did not get what he came for. And no doubt we will see this match, maybe time and time again, as Jake Roberts continues to chase Ravishing Rick Rude. And we roll on, guys. Couple of shows here, July 16th and the 17th, Landover, Maryland, Cap Center, 9,000 fans. Also, Hershey, Pennsylvania, Hershey Park Arena, 3,500 fans for the same card. Now in Landover, we get a matchup involving Sam Houston defeating Jos LeDuc. And believe it or not, Jos LeDuc quitting the company or leaving the company, not really sure how it all came about, but it seems Jos LeDuc done with the WWF after doing a job to Sam Houston here, of course, losing to Tito Clean at the recent TV tapings as well. So the headbanger, not long for the World Wrestling Federation. Unfortunately, LeDuc up there in age at this point. He had seen better years. It's unfortunate. Would have loved to have seen LeDuc in another era here in the WWF, but now leaving us after his match here in Landover, July the 16th. And that's going to be replaced the following day in Hershey by Frenchie Martin over Special Delivery Jones. Now, both nights we're going to see the remainder of the card stay the same with the Powers of Pain, Tito Santana in their corner defeating Demolition on a countout, Bolsheviks over the British Bulldogs, Dino Bravo pinning Bret the Hitman Hart, who's booking this shit, Greg the Hammer Valentine over Don Muraco, and in the main event both nights, tag team action, Randy Savage teaming with Brutus the Barber Beefcake over the $1 Million Man, and Honky Tonk Man, Savage pinning Dibiase after Virgil's interference backfiring there. So interesting cards in general, questionable decisions in some of those finishes. As we go on 4 shows in a row, well, we'll get to that in just a moment. We've got what looks to be, we'll call it a C show, maybe a D show here. I'll let you guys decide on the card. But 4 nights in a row, July 21st through the 24th, Brooklyn, New York, the Regina Youth Center, Poughkeepsie, New York, Mid-Hudson Civic Center, July the 22nd, canceled. And I'd say for very good reason. We're going to look at the card in a minute. July 23rd, Amsterdam, New York, High School Gym, and Delhi, New York at the SUNY Delhi. Is that right? July the 24th. The cards look like this, guys. Some of the nights, it's Iron Sheik over George Steele on a DQ. Other nights, Iron Sheik over Jerry Allen. Plus on the card, Blue Angel defeating Terry Gibbs, Ken Patera over Dino Bravo in an arm wrestling match, leading to a one-on-one encounter with Bravo pinning Ken Patera. Then from there, the Fabulous Rougeaus over the Killer Bees, and the Hitman Bret Hart pinning Dangerous Danny Davis with his pile driver. Hitman going over there, I guess, in what you would call the main event. And that show being canceled at the Mid-Hudson Civic Center, you have to believe, due to poor ticket sales, I would have to guess. But that is just a guess, guys. As we continue on, couple nights of action here. Tampa, Florida, Sundome, July the 21st. Also, Miami, Florida, debut at the Miami Arena for the WWF on July the 22nd. Some of the card is Lanny Poffo over Iron Mike Sharp. Also, Sharp over Poffo. Rockers defeating the Conquistadors. Now in Tampa, we get the Warrior over the Gang and JYD defeating Hercules. But in Miami, it's the Warrior over Hercules and JYD over the Gang. Also on the cards, Powers of Pain defeating Demolition by DQ. Rick Rude over Jake Roberts on a countout. Also in Miami, Jake Roberts pinning Ravishing Rick Rude. And then both nights, WWF champion Randy Savage pinning $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. And then from July 22nd through the end of the month, more often than not, we're splitting it up into 4 shows, 4 troops, 4 shows a night. That's pretty bold, as the WWF going to send a D troop, the D Show Tour, going off into the Western States area from July 22nd through the 31st in Las Cruces, New Mexico, Pan American Center, just 1,002 fans. Roswell, New Mexico, High School Gym, 3,397. Not a lot going on in Roswell. Everybody coming out for that one. Santa Fe, New Mexico, College of Santa Fe, only draws 197 fans for the same card as Roswell, by the way. Portales, New Mexico, at the Greyhound Arena, 302 fans. Then from there, Lubbock, Texas, 350 fans. My God. Odessa, Texas. Wow, we really are invading the old funk territory here. Odessa, Ector County Coliseum, July the 27th. Then from there, San Angelo at the Coliseum, Waco, Texas Convention Center, San Antone, and the Sunken Gardens Theater, going to draw 700. Finally, Brownsville, Texas, on July the 31st. And before we go on, I should mention, I said San Antonio. This is actually the WWF's first time in San Antone, and they pull in a whopping 700 fans. Though for this card, can't necessarily blame them. Now, one alteration here I'll mention. On the first 4 nights of the tour, the 22nd through the 25th in New Mexico, Jimmy Powers is out injured. So it's actually Paul Roma teaming with Western States stalwart Omar Atlas. So it's Paul Roma and Omar Atlas over Barry Horowitz, and Stevie Afi called back to action. Hey, Stevie, I got a job for you. Or rather, you're going to do the job, pal. Dibiase subbing for Steve Lombardi on these shows. So it's Paul Roma and Omar Atlas over Barry Horowitz and Dibiase in New Mexico. Now, for the duration of this tour through the end of the month, Jimmy Powers will return, and the action going to look like this each and every night. Originally scheduled for the D-Show tour, another reason why he likely quit, Jos LeDuc was scheduled to take on Brady Boone, but that match canceled. Of course, LeDuc gone, and I do believe Boone's been injured for the month of July. So that is replaced by DJ Peterson. DJ getting the call, scoring wins over Billy Anderson or Omar Atlas, depending on the night. From there, it's Coco Beware defeating Frenchie Martin. I've also seen Frenchie over Coco on some of the nights. Unbelievable. Then tag team midget action, Karate Chris and Little Coco over Lord Littlebrook and Little Tokyo. Young Stallions back together again over Barry Horowitz and Dibiase. Ladies champion Sherry over Rockin' Robin, and the main event here all throughout the Western States, Tito Santana pinning the outlaw Ron Bass. Woof. But we roll on, guys, to July 22nd, New Haven Coliseum in Connecticut, 6,000 fans out to see Terry Taylor over Scott Casey. Big Boss Man pin Sam Houston. The Bulldogs over the Bolsheviks on a countout. Bad News Brown defeating Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Brutus the Barber Beefcake over IC champion Honky Tonk Man. Jimmy Hart dressed as Peggy Sue, interfering in that one. Though give him credit, they changed it up a little bit here in New Haven. Jimmy Hart was already barred from ringside, so what does he do? Of course, he dresses in drag. Peggy Sue, he's out there as Peggy Sue, but after Peggy's interference, she too is ejected from ringside. So Honky having to go in there alone in this one. The Barber going over, but only by disqualification. Then from there, Greg Valentine pinning Rock Don Muraco. King Haku over Jerry Allen. Hacksaw Jim Duggan defeating Andre the Giant in a lumberjack match. Got to close the show there in Connecticut as we continue on July the 23rd to Jamie Ward Country, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the Spectrum, drawing 9,115 fans and televised on the Prism Network, featuring Dick Graham, Superstar Graham, and Lord Alfred Hayes on commentary here. Cal Rudman covering the interviews. We'll get to that in just a moment. On the card, Big Boss Man over Sam Houston, Greg Valentine defeating the Rock Don Muraco, Bolsheviks over the British Bulldogs on TV. It's on tape, guys. Then from there, Terry Taylor defeating Scott Casey with the Scorpion Deathlock. And as we continue on, we got some big matches upcoming. Dibiase challenging Savage for the belt, and the Honky Tonk Man defending his title against Brutus Beefcake. Now in Honky's corner, it's quote-unquote Peggy Sue, but in the Barber's corner, it's someone by the name of Georgia. More on that in just a moment, but right now we go backstage to Killer Cal. Cal Rudman standing by with the $1 Million Man and Intercontinental Champion, the Honky Tonk Man.
Cal Rudman, Killer Cal here in the interview area. I've got Virgil to my left with a lot of green, and I've got Ted Dibiase to my right. There's a lot in their minds because tonight's the night. Randy Macho Man Savage. He wants to control that title for a long time. Will he?
They call you the undisputed World Wrestling Federation champion, Macho Man. But you know down deep in your heart that as far back as WrestleMania 4, the only reason you're wearing that belt today is because you had a guardian angel in the form of Hulk Hogan save you at WrestleMania 4 because you were in the clutches of the $1 Million Dream. You were on Dream Street. You were out. You were history until I got blasted in the back. And did I come up on the podium? Did I arrange for Bobby Heenan and Andre the Giant to distract you? Yes, I did. I did it intentionally. So you get just a little bit of taste of what it's like to get nailed from behind. You ate the concrete that day. The Giant choked you down. We embarrassed you. I've humiliated you. I've done everything I can do to you, Savage. There's only one thing left, and that's to take that belt. A belt that rightfully belongs around my waist already. Everything's got a price. That belt has got a price. And oh, yes, the lovely Elizabeth. Well, let me tell you something, Savage. I can't look up to a man or respect a man that hides behind the skirt of a woman or looks to a woman for aid. I've got Virgil in my corner. Elizabeth, you're a beautiful woman, no doubt, but you're a manager in a predominantly man sport. What I'm saying is if you get in the way, I'm not responsible for what happens. If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. And if that riles you up just a little bit, Macho Man, that just makes me a little bit happier because I'm going to do everything I can to intimidate you. I already have. But tonight, it all comes to a point. It's gone full circle now. Tonight, the $1 Million Man leaves the Philadelphia Spectrum
the champion.
Does Virgil have anything to say on this?
Virgil
I know you do the talking.
Virgil only speaks when I allow him to.
That's what I thought. All right, we'll be right back. Killer Cal Rudman, here in the interview area. And what a night this is here at the Spectrum. All these championships on the line. Haven't seen that for a long time. And there's one big #1 contender. Brutus the Barber Beefcake with Georgia in his corner. But look who we have here. The champion. Going to have Peggy Sue in his corner.
Come on, Cal. Come on, say it like it's supposed to be said. Say it like the people of the city of brotherly love want to hear it. The greatest intercontinental heavyweight champion of all time. The greatest of all time. Never been beaten, can't be beaten, and won't be beaten, Cal. Either with Brutus the Barber Beefcake in Georgia. You know, they tell me it's going to rain cats and dogs tonight. Talking about animals. I'm talking about animals. I'm talking about Georgia animals still. I'm not talking about somebody named Georgia being in his corner. My girlfriend Peggy Sue will be there. But then he's bringing out somebody called Georgia. Now, what's that supposed to do to the honky-tonk man? You tell me, people out there on the Prism Network, you tell me what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to upset me, Cal. I don't like it one bit.
They're trying to get to you, honky-tonk man.
They're trying to get to me. They want this. They want the greatest intercontinental heavyweight champion of all time. They want me on my back. They want me put to sleep. They want me beat. They want the belt away from me because they know I'm the best. And last but not least, they want something that you have too. You got a nice-looking little ducktail. How would you look walking around the streets of Philadelphia with no hair?
I'd be mad.
You'd be mad. How do you think I'd feel?
Mad.
I feel real mad. I feel so mad at Brutus the Barber Beefcake. If you bring Georgia, ooh, a lot of her animalistic instincts. If she's out there, whatever it is, I'm going to turn Peggy Sue loose on your girlfriend. Because I guarantee you, I know what Peggy Sue can do. Because all the way up here, she stopped at every truck stop, and she signed autographs for all the 18-wheel drivers. I don't know what else she was doing, but I know she was signing autographs, and they're all behind her. 100%. And they believe it. Me. Because I'm the greatest of all time, Cal. And don't ever forget it. Don't ever forget that, Philadelphia. Don't you ever forget the honky-tonk man is the greatest intercontinental heavyweight champion of all time.
Well, you have had the championship for a long time.
Longer than anybody else. Longer than Pedro Morales. Longer than Tito Santana. Longer than Macho Man Randy Savage. I beat the best. I beat Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. I had it longer than its creator, Pat Patterson. So that makes me the greatest of all time. Thank you very much, Cal.
Okay, we'll be right back.
Honky Tonk thinks this is a bogus trip. Georgia coming to ringside with Brutus the Barber for this match at the Philadelphia Spectrum using this gimmick. Meanwhile, $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase getting another shot at Randy Savage in the WWF Championship. And we're going to see how that plays out first. It is the $1 Million Man with Virgil by his side defeating Randy Savage with the lovely Liz, albeit on a countout. When champion Savage attacking Virgil in the aisleway after Virgil teased going after the lovely Miss Elizabeth. Now, after the matchup, it's going to be the $1 Million Man Virgil attacking Savage and Elizabeth shoved down to the mat. Doing this on the house shows now, eh, Mach? DiBiase trying to get some serious heat here as they shove Elizabeth down to the mat and beat down the Macho Man. But we know bigger things to come as the summer continues on between those two. Right now, we go back to more action. Powers of Pain over tag team champion Demolition on a countout. Both teams brawling on the floor before Barbarian just beating the count back inside. And then, as promised, it's Intercontinental Champion Honky Tonk Man with Peggy Sue. Spoiler alert, guys. Jimmy Hart in drag once again. Honky Tonk Man taking on Brutus Beefcake with Georgia in his corner. Clearly, George Steele. I won't even call it in drag. It's George Steele in a wig and a dress. Let the comedy ensue ringside. Now, match going to see Honky Tonk pin the Barber. A lot of help Georgia was. The champion blasting the Barber with the megaphone. Beefcake applying the sleeper hold there. Honky able to get hold of Jimmy Hart's megaphone, crack the Barber with it, score the pin while the referee was distracted between Peggy Sue and George Steele. Now, as you may guess post-match, Peggy Sue removed of her garments to reveal it was Jimmy Hart. But we're still not done, guys. Got one more match here. This is kind of interesting because, wow. The final match of the night, going to see the Ultimate Warrior pin the mighty Hercules with a big power slam and splash combo. But what's interesting is this is almost all one-sided. Warrior beating down Hercules, taking him to the floor, ramming him repeatedly into the announce desk, just wrecking the mighty Hercules, tossing him back inside, delivering the big finisher, scoring the win, and the match only goes 3 minutes and 22 seconds. Just to give you a slight idea of where Hercules stands right now on the card here in the WWF. Very unfortunate. As we continue on July the 23rd, 10,000 fans out to Nashville, Tennessee in the Municipal Auditorium to see Iron Mike Sharp over Lanny Poffo, Bad News Brown defeat Jim Neidhart, Rockers over Conquistadors, Jake Roberts defeating Rick Rude on a countout, Hillbilly Jim subbing for the now gone Bam Bam Bigelow, going to be Hillbilly over the Gang on disqualification, King Haku pinning Junkyard Dog, and Andre the Giant scoring a pin over Hacksaw Jim Duggan. As we continue on July the 24th, Toronto, Ontario in the Maple Leaf Garden, Gorilla Monsoon and Sean Mooney, what a duo, on commentary. And I should point out, Greg DeGeorge, Gorilla already getting Mooney's name right. Just saying. On the card, it's Terry Taylor over Scott Casey with the Scorpion Deathlock. Post-match, we're going to see Billy Red Lions actually enter the ring and interview Terry Taylor upon his Maple Leaf debut here for the WWF. Also on the card, King Haku over SD Jones with the Crescent Kick. Haku scoring the win over Special Delivery there. Greg Valentine pinning Rock Don Muraco after blasting him with the shin guard. WWF champion Randy Savage over Ted DiBiase on a DQ. Virgil interference. Then, subbing for the mighty Hercules, Terry Taylor going to pull double duty on his Toronto debut for the company. It's Terry Taylor once again scoring a win over Richard Charlin this time, again with his Scorpion Deathlock. Wish he had kept that move. Powers of Pain here over the Bolsheviks, and six-man tag team action closing the night. Ultimate Warrior teaming with the British Bulldogs. Wow. Scoring a win over tag team champion Demolition and Mr. Fuji. And it's Warrior pinning Smash for the finish. Maybe they made the deal. Fuji, if you come to work, you don't have to do the job. Smash laying down for the ultimate one as we roll on to July 24th, Chicago, Illinois in the Rosemont Horizon. Bad News Brown over the Anvil, Dino Bravo defeating Ken Patera, Rockers over the Conquistadors, Ravishing Rick Rude pinning Jake the Snake Roberts, Big Boss Man over Sam Houston, Iron Mike Sharp defeating Leaping Lanny Poffo, Brutus Beefcake again with Georgia over IC champion Honky Tonk Man out of DQ, and Andre the Giant pinning Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Is up next, July 25th, Columbus, Ohio, the Ohio Center. It's Scott Casey over Mike Sharp, Ultimate Warrior defeating The Menace, who is subbing here for Hercules. So Hercules out again, maybe re-aggravating that arm injury. Boss Man defeating Sam Houston, Bad News Brown over the Anvil, Rick Rude defeating Jake Roberts on a countout, Brutus Beefcake over Honky Tonk Man on a DQ, and WWF champion Randy Savage pinning the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. Also July the 25th, New York City, Madison Square Garden, 11,500 fans. Whew, far from a sellout. They've drawn some decent numbers recently, but this almost cut in half. But it will be televised on the MSG network, including Sean Mooney, Lord Alfred Hayes, and Superstar Graham on commentary for this one. Going to see Terry Taylor over Lanny Poffo with the Scorpion Deathlock. The fabulous Rougeaus defeat the Rockers. Rockers taking their first L here in the WWF. The Rougeaus stealing the win. Jacques shoving Shawn Michaels off the top rope. Nasty bump there. Rougeaus going to pick up the victory. And then post-match, British Bulldogs out to make the save, taking issue with the fabulous Rougeaus. But we're off now to Lord Alfred Hayes standing by with the Rougeau brothers.
Standing by with me, my guests, we have the fabulous Rougeau brothers, Jacques and Raymond. Lately, these two youngsters have been causing a lot of mayhem in the ranks of tag team wrestling. They say that all their tactics are perfectly American, and they also say that the American public loves them. But after that performance that I saw tonight, I'm beginning to doubt this myself.
Well, thank you very much, Lord. You know, we really appreciate the people. We know they appreciate us. We're glad with our victory tonight over the Rockers, and we love United States.
Well, I thought that was rather a hollow victory. I also noticed that you poked your nose in when you've never done this ever before, and you came in at the end of the Bulldogs match, and it was quite a vicious attack. You sneaked up behind them.
Lord, do you have any idea at all how long we've been waiting to come to the USA? And as a matter of fact, now we have a lot of fans out there that are wondering, we've gotten plenty of letters, and they're saying, Jacques and Raymond, well, I mean Raymond and Jacques, because I'm Jacques, they're saying, where are you going to move to the United States? So, Lord, before you go any further, we want to say that we haven't have our cardboard with us, Raymond, but tell them what's on the cardboard.
Well,
Our new number.
Well, actually, what I'd like to tell right now is, there's one thing, the Bulldogs, they've been wanting to wrestle us, and, we'd really appreciate giving you guys a chance. We'd like to prove to you people, because we know you're behind us, and we're behind you all the way, and we know you love us.
We won't let them down, Raymond.
We'll never let you down, and we want you to know that we'll beat the Bulldogs because they've got a
Fabulous
dog
Rougeaus,
as
I've
a
listened
manager.
to everything you have to say, but shortly you're going to have to face the Bulldogs in the ring.
If you want us...
And now I'm going to send you right back to the ringside.
If you want us to come to United States, 1-800-FABULOUS,
who's
and
waiting
tell us
for you.
where you want the
Back to the
Fabulous Rougeau
ringside
brothers
right
to move
now.
in.
Fabulous Rougeaus getting better by the week. You got to love their shtick. If you don't, I don't know what's wrong with you. And they love the USA so much, they're planning to move here, guys. And you can help them pick what city to move to. All you have to do is call 1-800-FABULOUS. Did you catch that at the end of the promo? Got to love the Rougeaus. As we go back to the action, it's Bret Hart pinning Danny Davis with a pile driver. Rock Don Muraco battling Greg Valentine to a time limit draw. Match goes about 19 minutes there. We're going to see some post-match shenanigans there involving Billy Graham ringside, Don Muraco, and the Hammer. Of all the matches to go nearly 20 minutes. Also on the card, Tag Champs Demolition, scoring a win over the Bulldogs. That match also goes about 20 minutes. Smash pinning Davey Boy after interference from the Rougeau brothers coming ringside. And that's important, guys, because think about this. One of the big matches at SummerSlam, also here in Madison Square Garden, features the British Bulldogs taking on the Rougeaus, actually the opener of the pay-per-view. And there's a little context here now, at least for the local fans attending the show. A little more here as the Rougeaus cost the Bulldogs their title shot against Demolition. And as we have several more matches to look at here, including the main event of the night, going to feature Andre the Giant taking on Hacksaw Jim Duggan in a Lumberjack match. Right now we're going to hear from both sides of that, as well as the Bolsheviks, who are slated to take on the Powers of Pain.
Hello, everybody. This is Lord Alfred Hayes in the locker room area, and obviously my guest at this moment is Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who is shortly going to be going into the ring in a very formidable match. Hacksaw, you're going into the ring against Andre the Giant.
7'5", 500 pounds. He's big and he's nasty, and if you can't see him coming, you can smell him coming.
I was about to say, Hacksaw, that this is going to be a lumberjack match, and there are going to be men all around
the ring, Lord.
Now, last time you came face to face with the Giant, he ran. What is going to happen this time?
Well, he sure made himself awful scarce out there when old Hacksaw stomped down to the ring with my buddy, my 2x4. But tonight, it's going to be a little different, tough guy. Tonight, we're going to have men all outside the ring. And if that big giant gets out there, I'm sure enough of them will grab a hold of him and toss his large frame back in there.
But you know, Giant, this man is 500 plus pounds, a very, very big man.
I know that. Are you kidding, Lord? You're talking to the man that had those big old mitts wrapped around his throat. You're talking to the man that almost went out in front of millions of people. And you're also talking to the man that grabbed this 2x4 right here and planted it right between the Giant's eyes and for the first time in history, knocked him out. Oh!
This time, Hacksaw, before you give me one more of those ear-splitting hoes, do you have some sort of a game plan? Because I don't think they're going to allow you to have that in the ring with you.
Well, no, they probably won't let Hacksaw bring it to the ring. And being the sports-minded guy I am, I'll leave it over there. But my game plan is simple. Attack, attack, attack. And tough guy, you're going down. Oh!
That much coming up very, very soon. I'm going to send you right back to the ringside for more action. As you can see with me right now in the locker room area, I have two very, very powerful men, two Russians, who together form the Bolsheviks, and these men have a tough task on their hand. They're going against an immense team, possibly even with a little more weight than these two men. They're going against Powers of Pain. Tell me, Nikolai Volkov, you being the spokesman for this team in the beginning, how do you rate your chances against two men who are possibly bigger than you?
Power of Pain, they hide their name, they say they often know, but to me, they are nothing but two ugly Americans. Jak to prawda, towarzysz?
Prawda, towarzysz. The Powers of Pain, they're trying to keep us away from the World Wrestling Federation title. They know we were getting too closer. We're destroying all the tag teams in the competition. So now they bring these Powers of Pain, these big, strong men. Yes, you are strong. But you're not too smart up here, because you see, Russians are not only great athletes, they are smart athletes, and we have found a way. We are going to outsmart and take the Powers of Pain tonight.
Well, as a matter of fact, the Powers of Pain, I was speaking to them a little while ago, and they told me that they have a definite game plan for you. They're not going to divulge it, but how do you feel about that?
The Powers of Pain, you can say what you want, but the Russians are the greatest athletes. You see, that's the difference. You're not Russian.
They may be not Russian, but they're certainly American, and all our American boys here have a lot of heart, and they're going to show this against you two this evening. We look forward to that match very much.
Now let's hear from his opponent, Andre the Giant, who is standing by with Bobby the Brain Heenan, his manager.
Thank you, Sean. As you can see at the moment, I have as my guest one gigantic giant here, weighing 500+ pounds. He's with his manager, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and shortly they're going to be indulging in a match that is a very, very dangerous match, a lumberjack match with men all round the ring. And should either of these men choose to get out of the ring, that is his opponent, Jim Hacksaw, and of course the Giant, they're going to be thrown directly back into the ring.
Let me tell you something, Lamy. You indulge in tea and crumpets. We don't indulge in nothing. Now, when that bell rings, that ring's going to be surrounded with wrestlers. Whoever gets thrown out of that ring or jumps out of that ring is going to be thrown back in. This man has never run from anybody. He's never left the ring, and nobody can throw him out of the ring. But Duggan, you're going to have a busy, busy time tonight, because there's one man that is going to show you what a 2x4 is all about.
10 by 10.
A 10 by 10 right here, Andre the Giant.
Well, I'm very surprised, Heenan, that you accepted this match, because last time here, I noticed that, in fact, the Giant did take a sort of a stroll out of the ring rather rapidly.
Well, he beat Bam Bam Gumbo, or whatever his guy's name is. Bigelow. Doesn't matter. Beat him just like that. Bing Bing, whatever his name is. The guy didn't even show much of a fight.
But you're talking about a different man now.
Then Duggan hit the ring with a board. Tonight, he's not going to have that board. He's going to have to get in there with 2 feet, 2 hands.
This man is a very big, strong, tough man, and he's telling me that he has the measure. The 10 by 10 is what?
Lord, you know me for a long time, and every time I say I'm going to do something, I'll do it.
That's
and
absolutely
you know
true.
me better than that. Don't take off the microphone in my face. Just leave it in there, because I won. Cause I Duggan. I got to fix your eyes tonight.
It's all over. You can take that to the bank.
Well, these are your words, Heenan, but I'm sure Hacksaw Duggan has another thing to say about that.
Minus the slickster, we get the Bolsheviks out here cutting a promo. Let's see how good that does them as they head to the ring. Nope, didn't work for them. Powers of Pain picking up a pinfall victory over Nikolai Volkov, Boris Zukov there. Also, King Haku with manager Bobby Heenan out here. Haku scoring a win over Special Delivery Jones. And in the final match of the night, Heenan back ringside for Andre the Giant. Going to score a win over Hacksaw Jim Duggan in the Lumberjack match, dropping the big elbow and picking up the win over Hacksaw. Andre looking to move on to perhaps a WWF title shot. We'll have to wait and see. Now, post-match, Lumberjacks beginning to brawl. Andre going to take care of some of them. Duggan, though, clearing everyone left standing with his trusty 2x4. Tough guy. Fun night there at the Garden. As we go on, also July 25th, 1,400 fans in Pulaski, New York at the Haldane Community Center. Going to see Blue Angel over Terry Gibbs. Killer Bees defeat the Conquistadors. Iron Sheik over Jerry Allen after what is called a kick to the head. Damn curl-toed boots. Dino Bravo scoring a win over Ken Patera, and in the main event, Junkyard Dog pinning One Man Gang. JYD now subbing for Bam Bam Bigelow, I should point out, on a lot of these cards. As we begin to close out the month of July, just a couple cards left here, guys, including July 29th and 30th, Regina, Saskatchewan at the Agrodome in Buffalo, New York. The following day, Memorial Auditorium, Terry Taylor over SD Jones. Rougeaus defeat the Killer Bees. Dino Bravo over Ken Patera. Andre the Giant pinning Jim Duggan in another Lumberjack match. Bad News Brown over Hitman Bret Hart. Neidhart scoring a win over Leaping Lanny Poffo. And in the main event, Brutus the Barber Beefcake over Intercontinental Champion Honky Tonk Man on a count out. How many times can we do this match before the Barber gets the belt? We got to do something here, right, guys? Also, July 29th and 30th, Tacoma, Washington at the Tacoma Dome, and Spokane, Washington at the Coliseum, drawing 4,000 fans. It is the WWF debut, or return for the sticklers, of who we will come to know as Mr. Perfect. Here, he's simply Curt Hennig, making his WWF return. Tacoma, Washington, July 29th. Hennig scoring the pin over Cowboy Scott Casey. Also on the card, the Big Boss Man pinning Porkchop Cash. You don't see that every day. Porkchop Cash here in the WWF doing a couple jobs for the Boss Man. Cash in here subbing for Jerry Allen. Also on these cards, it's the British Bulldogs over the team of Demolition Smash and Mr. Fuji. Fuji subbing for Axe on the cards. Not sure what's going on there. Also King Haku over Sam Houston. Jake Roberts battling Rick Rude to a double countout. Ultimate Warrior pinning the mighty Hercules. And the WWF champion Randy Savage scoring wins over Ted DiBiase in no DQ matches. Would have loved to have seen those. The Macho Man picking up a couple of wins here, closing out the month. And then finally, before we get to the end of the month, 3 nights in a row, July 29th through the 31st, St. John's, Newfoundland, Memorial Stadium, Grand Falls, Newfoundland, Grand Falls Stadium, and Corner Brook, Newfoundland at the Humber Gardens. And on these shows, it's the return of Owen Hart from that slight injury as the Blue Angel. Owen returning as himself. No mask, no blue blazer gear here. It's Owen Hart pinning Iron Mike Sharp on these cards. Also, Greg the Hammer Valentine over Don Muraco. Rockers defeating the Conquistadors. JYD over Dangerous Danny Davis. Iron Sheik pinning Richard Charland. Also on the card, Junkyard Dog scoring a win in a 12-man battle royal. Smaller cards, but fun nights no doubt there in Newfoundland. As we finish up the month of July, there's only one piece of business left, and that's 25,866 fans out to the Milwaukee, Wisconsin County Stadium to be a part of WrestleFest 88. I believe 15 matches on the card, guys, and we're not going to get into the results of this show just yet because we're going to cover them at the end of the month when it actually takes place July 31st. We're going to talk about it more in depth at that point. It's also going to be available as a video cast. All 15 matches from WrestleFest 88, not just the matches from Coliseum Video, guys, but the entire card. You're going to want to be part of that as part of patreon.com/WrestleCopia. More on that in just a little bit, but just look at some of the matches on the card. Bad News Brown battling Bret Hart. Hacksaw Duggan meeting Honky Tonk Man for the IC title. World champion Randy Savage once again defending against the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. Battle of the Newcomers. Curt Hennig takes on Terry Taylor. Both of them pre-gimmick. Then from there, Jake the Snake Roberts continues to look for revenge against ravishing Rick Rude. Ultimate Warrior versus Bobby Heenan, and yet another Weasel Suit matchup. I hear rumors that the Crusher, the man who made Milwaukee famous, going to be ringside for that one. Did you guys know the Crusher was the one who invented the name Weasel for Bobby Heenan? Going to be interesting. Also, as part of WrestleFest, Tag Team Champions Demolition versus the British Bulldogs, and Hulk Hogan making his WWF return. Hulk Hogan going one-on-one with the 8th wonder of the world, Andre the Giant, inside a 15-foot-high solid steel cage. My God, and that's just some of the card, guys. Plenty of other action in between. You're not going to want to miss that episode of The Grenade, and you're certainly not going to want to miss the video cast of that entire event coming soon to Patreon. And that's going to wrap it up another month in the books here in the World Wrestling Federation as far as results goes. When we return, we're going to jump into July TV for 1988 in the WWF. There's a lot of fun things coming. Lots of things going to begin setting up SummerSlam. More angles and more superstars on the way. We'll have to wait and see who's next as guest of the Brother Love Show. All of that and so much more. Stay tuned to the next episode. And be sure to check out all of the podcasts over at WrestleCopia.com. Now, they're available on all of your favorite podcast streaming platforms. But at the same time, guys, to get an idea of all the podcasts we have, you got to head over to WrestleCopia and check them out. Talking the Wrestling Nostalgia with Dave Dynasty podcast, the Retro Wrestling Review with Gene Jackson, Captain's Corner with the captain himself, Nick Massey, now part of the WrestleCopia brand. Of course, The Other Ship and so much more. And right around the corner, Dangerous Conversations with the one and only Dangerous Doug Gilbert of the Fighting Gilbert family. Of course, second generation star is Doug, father Tommy Gilbert, and brother Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. Doug there to share it all. Be sure to check that out along with host Gene Jackson, upcoming in the month of August. Stay tuned for more on that at WrestleCopia.com, and be sure to follow me on all of the social media, guys, talking about X at Wrestling Grenade. That's at RASSLIN Grenade. Also follow and like me with more than 15,000 other fans at Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade, and subscribe to YouTube.com Wrestling Grenade. And last but not least, become a member today of patreon.com/WrestleCopia. That address again, patreon.com/WrestleCopia. Always talking about that $5 all access tier. Get you so many things, get you so many gifts for just $5. And of course now the Superfan Deluxe tier for just a few bucks more. Get you so much more. Please help support the cause. It is this summer. We have reached our 4-year anniversary, and that means a whole lot of annual bills due right now, and my credit cards could really use your help. Covering the hosting, covering the software editing bills, and beyond. So keep that in mind. We certainly appreciate your support in any way you can. But we've got so much upcoming. WrestleFest 88, SummerSlam, the very first SummerSlam. And speaking of SummerSlam, happy SummerSlam week to anybody who's watching the current product here in 2024. It is SummerSlam weekend this week, guys. And for the first time in more than 10 years, I'll be attending a WWE event, a wrestling event of any type. For the first time in 16 years, I'll be attending a WWE pay-per-view. Doing it for my kids, taking 3 of my boys, and my brother's coming up as well to be part of it. Going to be a fun weekend with the family. Hope you guys enjoy SummerSlam at your home. And we'll be back soon with more Grenade goodness as we cover July TV for 1988 in the World Wrestling Federation. But for now, this is Ray Russell saying from pillar to post and coast to coast. You pull the pin, and I'll pick up the pieces right here on the Wrestling Memory Grenade. I'll see you next week. Don't miss it. Be there!
Lord, do you have any idea at all how long we've been waiting to come to the USA? So, Lord, before you go any further, if you want us to come to the United States, 1-800-FABULOUS,
who's waiting for you.
Where you want the
Back to the
Fabulous Rougeau
ringside
brothers to
right
move
now.
in.
Cause Duggan, I gotta fix your eyes tonight.
It's all over. You can take that to the bank.